I'm really excited today to be able to share with you the journey that we've been making as a church. In 2011, a group of 30 people gathered together in an Italian restaurant, and we began to pray and learn how to do church, the kind of church that would reach out into its community and win people for Jesus Christ. Our mission is clear. We are to be disciple makers. We know that there is nothing more important for us to spend our time and resources on than making as many disciples for Jesus Christ as we can, wherever we can, with whatever resources we can gather, because we know that people are created to love God, to grow in their relationship with Him, and be continuously engaged with serving others who have yet to meet the Lord. Our core values can be communicated with just 3 words: love, grow, and engage. Here's what these words mean to us. Love. Because the love of God captured our hearts and transformed our lives, we now creatively communicate His love with as many people as we possibly can, so that they too will come to know and love God and His Son Jesus Christ. Winning people to Jesus Christ is the first step in making more disciples. Grow. We know that praying a prayer of commitment is not enough for people to become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. So we've committed ourselves to sacrificially living our lives with people who come to faith in Christ so that they will know how to grow in their faith and be encouraged to participate in a clearly defined process of spiritual formation. This is the second step in making better disciples. Engage. We have learned that most people will not come to one of our campuses to learn about Jesus or even care that He exists until they experience a positive engagement with a Christ follower in a place where they do life. This compels us to go outside the comfort of our homes and church facilities to connect relationally with people who need to meet the Lord. Engaging spiritually unresolved people with the intent of introducing them to Jesus Christ is the third step in making active disciples. Until Jesus comes, we will keep on practicing these values with everyone we meet, so that they too will love God, grow in their faith, and engage with others in our region and world.
So we just want to remain intentional about walking across the lobby in the fellowship hall and reaching out our hand and just saying, hey, have we met before if we're not sure? And making sure people are feeling welcome. In general, they've made a decision about whether or not they might return before they ever hear the preacher say a word. So it all depends on the vibrancy that they feel, the hospitality they experience when they walk in the door. The goal of assimilation is mobilization. And even recently we revamped the connection card and changed a little bit of the verbiage in it to say I'd like to connect through, and listed various opportunities where people can get plugged in and become mobilized in the church. The quicker that we can get somebody mobilized or active in serving or active in a small group, then the quicker they take ownership and are more likely to become a vital part of the community here at Vantage Point. As we decided that on Monday mornings now, if they give us a cell phone number, that we're going to shoot them a text message from our mobilization team, just saying we're so thankful that they chose to visit us and letting them know that they have a contact. Let me just share with you a text message I received from Amanda, who's part of our team, just a couple of weeks ago. She writes, Jeff, that was seriously awesome. I sent that text out and we chatted for a good 10 minutes. Learned they're new to the area, where they came from, ages of the kids. Told her 2 of her 3 would be in class with our boys. She stored my number and now has a contact at her fingertips should anything arise. Just waiting to hear how she found out about VP. You know, it's that kind of excitement about new people and guests that come into our place that really shines through, I think, when they come in. And I think that's one of the reasons why we hear over and over again. It was just so inviting and friendly. I felt at home when I first came in. But one step at a time, God's really helping us to connect with new people as they come through the doors at Vantage Point, and hopefully one day become mobilized in the body of Christ.
2 minutes into the service, our littlest guy, who is 7 now, leaned over and said, "This church is really fun." And for your kid, for your 7-year-old to say that, it's a big deal. And so we sat through the service, all got in the car, looked at one another and said, this is where we're meant to be. But like I said, just the fact that it's not a fight to go to church, that the kids get up and they get dressed and they want to go. It's more of a fight to leave the building than it is to get them to go to the building, which is a very rare thing. If you're a parent, that is just, if your kids want to go, that's 90% of the battle right there.
The first time we came to Vantage Point was probably a year and a half ago or so, and we were invited by a teen to come to the church as a family, and I think when a teenager invites you to his church, that's kind of a big deal. So we didn't want to turn that down. So we came as a family, and what drew us to keep coming back was Pastor Dean's messages and the contemporary service and the worship music, really.
So Katie and I, my wife, have been going to Vantage Point for a little over 2 years. Initially, we were invited there by some friends. We were looking to move to the area from Colorado, and a big thing on our heart was we needed to find a church that we felt welcome and comfortable in. And so we checked out a bunch of websites, looked at a couple churches in the area, and then some friends said, "You should come to our church." So we walked into Vantage Point, and immediately we were greeted with a handshake. People recognized that we were new at church, which told us right away that everybody knew each other there, and there was a fellowship, and we really enjoyed that, and we kept coming back.
First time we came to Vantage Point was just after Christmas last year. I had been invited to come to service, and it seemed like it was a really comfortable place. And by comfortable, I mean like comfortable in terms of the people, the surroundings. Listening to Dean speak to everyone, it just spoke to me, and that's what has kept us coming back.
I'm really excited today to be able to talk a little bit about the children's ministry here at Vantage Point. VP Kids is a very large component of our church, not only in its size. On a weekly basis, we probably have 50 plus children, infants through 5th grade, who come through our doors on a regular basis. And so it's large in that way, but it's large in emphasis and the value that we place on it, because we believe very definitely that since we are disciple makers, that's just the brief way of saying what our mission is, that we as a church are all about making disciples. We believe that these children can very definitely become disciples and then in turn disciple makers. And I had the privilege of growing up in a church that highly valued their children and affirmed them when they made that important decision to follow Christ and then follow into the waters of baptism. And so we're excited here at Vantage Point when we see children making a very definite decision to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and then to see them growing in their faith, and then to see them say, you know what, I hear Pastor Dean saying that the next step after I have become a believer is to be baptized as a public testimony to what God has done in my heart, the transformation Jesus has made in my life. So it's been my privilege to baptize some of our children and to see them grow in their knowledge of God, in their relationship to Jesus Christ, and in their witness to their family and to their friends, and become engaged with their community, their classmates, their school, service projects that we do here at Vantage Point. They are an integral part of those things as well. So when we meet here on Sundays, there's always a big idea. What's the big idea? And that generally matches what is being taught in the auditorium by our lead pastor or the speaker of that day. And so families go home with the same theme to hash over in the car, to talk about over lunch, to practice through the week. And I couldn't be more excited about the group of people that God has entrusted to me as a pastor here at Vantage Point, these children between the ages of infancy and 5th grade. As a church plant, it's part of our DNA that people quickly upon becoming part of Vantage Point, find a place where they can serve and use their spiritual gifts that maybe they're not even aware they have. And so it's very exciting for me in children's ministry to, just today I kind of added up, how many volunteers do we have in our children's ministry? Wow, 21 plus people who contribute to the children's ministry on a regular basis, adults and teens. And this past summer, we held our very first VBA, Vacation Bible Adventure, was our little twist on traditional Vacation Bible School. And we used the Cave Quest, and we are actually redoing that as theme for our VP Kids this fall, because so many kids loved it. Not every kid got in on it. And the theme, following Jesus, the light of the world, the fact that he brings hope, gives us courage, gives us power, shows us love, all such important themes for them to grasp. But anyway, the point of what I was saying was that when we recruited volunteers, we were thrilled that so many volunteered, and I forget the actual number now, but the number that came to me today was that we had 16 people volunteer to help with VBA who were outside of our normal VP Kids ministry team volunteers. So 16 brand new people said, okay, for a week I can jump in and help with VBA. And so that was very exciting because some of them have stayed on now and are helping in our children's ministry on a more regular basis. And one of the side benefits of that, which is always true of people who serve beside each other, is some really tight relationships formed, some real bonds. The camaraderie was wonderful. And now you see these close-knit people praying for each other, talking about their spiritual lives, encouraging each other, and serving together in other ways. So that was a really, really exciting part and expansion of our children's ministry as well.
What events have happened at Vantage Point? I mean, you could talk about this for hours. I mean, that's one thing that's so awesome about Vantage Point, is how many examples there are of what Vantage Point does to reach out and serve the community, and to just do things that are fun and show God's love to Glens Falls. So we've been at the Easter egg hunt, which this year was inside the Civic Center, and they've had it outside in the snow. We've been at Trunk or Treat, where everybody decorates their trunk. There is somebody at Vantage Point who decorates their trunk with Washington Redskins. So we welcome all types. Anyone who has different sins they struggle with can come to Vantage Point. We also have been at, they do the Fall Festival, and now we have pony rides there. There's Financial Peace University, which is awesome because it's God's money and we're stewards of it, and it teaches us basically how we can best use the money that God has given us to show love to others, to not only serve our community but to bring glory to Him. Fun in the Park, where we would be at Crandall Park and we'd have live worship, and we'd have now the church owns a bounce house. We've gone to a lot of different churches. This is the first church I've been at that owns a bounce house. So there's just so many events that happen at Vantage Point Church, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
I guess the first one that we attended and volunteered at was when we went to the Civic Center for the Easter egg hunt. So we got there at 6 a.m. and that was really fun to get to put all the eggs out on the ice and then see all these families come in, not quite sure what to expect. I thought the message was pretty well done, and then the kids just had a blast on the ice.
Last year when we did the Easter service and egg hunt at the Civic Center in Glens Falls, we volunteered at that, and serving more than being served. It was just an amazing thing to be part of.
I usually volunteer on Saturday nights as an EMT, so I would sleep in pretty late on Sunday mornings and then get up late, and everything was just sort of, Sundays where it seemed to be more of a wasted day. Sometimes I cook for half the day, but I feel like I get up and we make it a point to come, and it just gets us kick-started, gets us off on the right foot for the week.
If we weren't at Vantage Point Sunday morning, we would definitely be somewhere at church. The problem is we really want to be at a church in our town, in our community, to live where the church is. And we were starting to get disheartened and looking for churches that we might have to travel up to 40 minutes away to get to church. So it's awesome that Vantage Point is here and exists not only to disciple us in our relationship with Christ, but to actually serve this community.
What keeps us coming back is, I guess, that sense of community. Grace Fellowship, there was a disconnect. Although people were very, very friendly, I didn't feel like we would get to know people well. And with Vantage Point, it's much more intimate, I guess. You can build those relationships, and that's sweet to be able to do that.
Like I said, when we first came to Vantage Point, we immediately were welcomed, and people recognized that we were new there. And it wasn't a church of like 15 people, so you can pick out who's new. It's a church, a decent-sized church, and people could still recognize that we were new there, and immediately people came out of their way to talk to us. So I love that. But that, is kind of surface level, just welcoming someone. Once we were going to Vantage Point regularly, this is a church that really gets deep, because not only do we celebrate in victories and great life events, we just had a baby, and just the love that was poured on us was amazing. The friends who came over, the meals that were made, the gifts, was awesome. But yet, community is also supporting each other in struggles, and whether that's an illness, whether that's legal issues, things like that. There's been no shortage of struggles that have happened at Vantage Point, because Jesus didn't come to healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. And Vantage Point is a church full of imperfect people who are just trying to know God and trying to support each other. And time again, there's examples of someone bringing their brokenness to the cross, and it's a church just coming together and supporting you.
I think it just permeates most of the stuff from the beginning of service, where you're welcomed in by different members of the church, to the song portion, the praise portion, and then the reception afterwards, and then all the other events that we have that we all sort of just become a part of and become integrated in. Now that we found Vantage Point, we found more of a common grounds in terms of our belief in God and belief in Jesus as a family, and it's been easier to articulate to each other, and it's really impacted our life in a positive way.
So for us, community is really being part of the body, and I think Pastor Dean does a really sweet job of conveying that in his weekly messages and in his emails that we get throughout the week, and encouraging us and challenging us, because we need to be challenged, but we also need to be accountable to God. And that sense of community is so much more than just going to church on Sunday and being a part of that community within those four walls of the church. We need to be a part of the community every single day where we live, and be reaching out and touching other people in our community, whether or not they're members of our church or not. And I think that's a strong, positive message that the pastor shares with us and encourages us to do, and it's a good daily challenge.